Imagine this, a gang of cocky criminals roaming the streets of 1960s London, not pretending to be tough guys, but pretending to be cops. And not just any cops, British bobbies in full uniform, flashing fake warrants and raiding other criminals. That's the cheeky premise behind The Wrong Arm of the Law, a 1963 crime comedy that manages to poke fun at both crooks and coppers.
This bleeding game in a business, that's all, the IPO.
What's IPO? Impersonated a police officer.
With a cast that's a who's who of British comedy legends.
Hello, nervous.
Hello, Pearly.
Now, if that opening didn't already grab you, stick around. We're diving into a film that brought together Peter Sellers, Bernard Cribbins, Lionel Jeffries, and a script so sharp it could cut glass, with its eccentric characters, farcical plot, and the quintessential charm of swinging London just before it really started swinging. The Wrong Arm of the Law deserves another look.
It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all.
Whether you're a vintage film buff or just someone who likes a good laugh with a twist. At the heart of it all is Pearly Gates, played by the inimitable Peter Sellers. Now, Pearly isn't just any crook. He's running a high-end fashion house in the West End, Maison Jules.
It will look even more formidable, mademoiselle.
As a front for his criminal empire. Think Savile Row with a safe in the back. Sellers brings his usual flair to the role.
The Oxton, I presume that would mean the Oxton jewel.
The usual vulgar display of wealth.
Toggling between over-the-top French couturier and smooth-talking underworld boss. The fashion house setting gives the film a bit of glam, but the comedy is rooted firmly in London grit. Pearly's losing money, and fast.
Do me a favour. I've had 6 jobs go out the spout this week. 120,000 nickel already.
Not because the police are closing in, but because someone else is knocking off his jobs before he can collect. Enter the IPO mob, impersonating police officers. 3 Australians led by Jack Coombs, played by Bill Kerr, who was himself an Aussie.
They all go like this job will put all the pommy gangs out of business inside of 3 months.
Bringing authentic flavour to the role. With mates Bluey May and Reg Denton in tow, the gang raids criminal halls dressed as police, using the badge as cover to steal from thieves. It's clever, it's audacious, and it's totally unsustainable.
Go back when we've made enough to live it up big for the rest of our lives.
Hey, don't forget I want to see the Queen before I go out.
Once Pearly catches on, he thinks it's his old rival, Nervous O'Toole, played with perfect jittery energy by Bernard Cribbins.
Anybody can get hold of a load of coppers' uniforms, can't they, nervous?
Don't you start accusing me.
O'Toole's got a gang of his own, and a name that sounds like a man one misstep away from cardiac arrest.
Coughs and sneezes spread diseases.
But when Pearly and O'Toole realise they're both being fleeced by the same group, they do the unthinkable, team up.
Unity! The only way we can counteract this menace is by concerted action.
And not just with each other, but with the real police.
Bonjour, monsieur. Qu'est-ce que vous voulez?
Bonjour, Inspector.
That's where Lionel Jeffries comes in as Inspector Fred Nosy Parker.
Miss Charles Georges.
No, don't give me that. When I took you in 1948, you was Pearly Gates.
A fast-talking, exasperated Scotland Yard man
Just because you sell a few women's frocks in the West End, that does not mean to say that things have changed.
who agrees to work with the Crooks to take down the faux bobbies. The plan? A massive bullion robbery, staged by the underworld as bait. Nosy has to go undercover with Pearly's gang, and of course, nothing goes exactly as planned.
Start packing the loot.
What follows is a cat-and-mouse chase with mistaken identities, narrow escapes, and some of the best deadpan humour British cinema had to offer at the time.
I've gone raving mad. Turn this car around and take me back.
Sorry, Nosy, can't stop now. I've got a plane to catch.
Let's not forget Nanette Newman as Valerie, Pearly's model girlfriend, who's not quite what she seems.
More information for you.
All right, here, baby.
My expenses.
She's stylish, sharp, and secretly feeding information to the Australian gang.
There's £500,000 involved.
She's a classic double-crosser, but with enough charisma that you don't hate her for it.
Know each other. We were very good friends, weren't we, Pearly?
Yes, we were.
Valerie's betrayal adds an emotional jab to the otherwise light-hearted story, giving Pearly's frustration a little more weight.
You're a bit out of date, aren't you? Where's your little striped jersey? Take it.
And if you're wondering how it all looks, well, this is early 60s London in glorious black and white. The film was shot on location around Westminster, Old Bond Street, and even includes a memorable sequence in Battersea Park's funfair, where a young, then unknown Michael Caine appeared as an uncredited extra. There's a rich vein of satire running through the film too. It jabs at the inefficiency of law enforcement, the egos of criminals, and the absurdity of turf wars. And it does all this without losing its pace or its its charm.
I too have entered the realms of men's apparel. I've called this Cary Grant in Charing Cross Road.
One standout scene, the Underworld Council meeting, complete with minutes, a chairman,
Discuss the problem which faces us all, namely the disgraceful, unethical IPO mob.
and delegates in suits, where London's top crooks sit around a table trying to run their operations like a legitimate business.
Educated earnest, confidence trickster. I want to know what the police are doing about it.
The film's blend of physical comedy, witty dialogue, and situational absurdity
You mean about the wrong man? And this is worth £500,000?
is what makes it stand the test of time.
No, scrub it, wrong van.
Sure, it's very British, but not in an inaccessible way. Think of it like the granddad of the Italian Job or Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, but with better suits and fewer explosions.
Where are we going?
Dirty stinking crook. He didn't tell me he was going to do that. Come on, lads!
Critically, The Wrong Arm of the Law was well received. It wasn't a blockbuster in terms of international box office, but it performed solidly in the UK and became a staple on TV reruns for decades.
Oh, really? So much for Parker's security arrangements.
Sellers was already a household name, coming off hits like The Mouse That Roared, and this film helped keep his hot streak alive.
Absolutely beautiful. Might have been made for you.
It's necessary to stuff her out in front and get propelled up the back.
Jeffries too was at the peak of his comedic powers, before taking on more iconic roles in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and The Railway Children.
Catching the IPO mob, such as catching the IPO mob. Send in a nice pot of tea and a couple of fairy cakes, will you?
Director Cliff Owen kept things tight, balancing the pace of a heist film with the rhythm of a farce. The screenplay, co-written by Ray Galton and Alan Simpson, yes, the same duo behind Hancock's Half Hour, delivers one-liners and setups that feel as fresh today as they did in 1963.
A geezer on the other side in a black hat says you'll pay.
Well, that's a bit strong. He earns more than I do.
As for legacy, it's often overshadowed by Sellers' later, flashier work, like Dr. Strangelove or The Pink Panther.
Shouldn't you go and join your boys, Inspector, being at the kill?
But The Wrong Arm of the Law is a time capsule of post-war British comedy,
Fight him!
before it got too self-aware or too farcical.
It was a tool in his mouth for dangerous driving and breach of the peace.
It's slick without being flashy,
They got rid of Parker. Yeah, it's one of the things I don't understand.
smart without being smug,
Have to see their faces when they Bank of England. Promises to pay 500 laughs.
and hey, if you ever find yourself walking through Westminster, just remember, one of London's finest farces once played out there, where the crooks dressed as cops and the police partnered with the crooks to catch them. Only in British cinema, right? So if you haven't seen The Wrong Arm of the Law, it's well worth your time. It's 90 minutes of mischief, sharp suits and sharper lines.
Walked right through the building and out the other side without one single constable saluted me, as usual. Hey?
And it might just be one of Peter Sellers' most underrated roles. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe for more vintage film deep dives, and let us know in the comments. What's your favourite forgotten British comedy gem? See you in the next one.
Your confidence has touched me deeply. I only hope that I can prove worthy of your trust.